What is going on, everybody? It is me again. It's HorrorFan34, and welcome to another video. And welcome to day 24 of the 31 Days of Horror Challenge in October. Now we are getting on to day 31 of the challenge. I figured I'd talk about a very criminally underrated gem, in my opinion, of a Stephen King movie. I mean, I'm a big fan of Stephen King adaptation movies. I really do enjoy The Shining and Cujo, Christine, Children of the Corn. Cat's Eye is another really good one as well. Even The Running Man, that's a Stephen King adaptation. I really love that one. I'm trying to think of other ones. I enjoy The Mangler. I think that's a fun one. And there's quite a few Stephen King movies I really do enjoy. There's quite a few that I really enjoy, and this is another one that I think is a really well done Stephen King movie. Probably one of the more underrated Stephen King adaptations, because not many people talk about this film as much as other ones. Even Pet Sematary, that's another really good one. But people talk about when they think about Stephen King movies, they think about Children of the Corn, or they think about Cujo, or what are the good, the Shining. They that, those are good movies as well. But I feel like this one doesn't get really talked about that much, and it's a shame, because I think this is one of the best Stephen King adaptation movies. And if you can tell by the title of the video, that review is going to be on The Dead Zone. He can see the future, but can he escape it? But yeah, The Dead Zone, this was a 1983 film directed by David Cronenberg. Now, David Cronenberg, very different film for David Cronenberg, because David Cronenberg kind of deals more with horror films that deal with body horror, whether it be Scanners or Videodrome or even The Fly. And getting into David Cronenberg, the director, I'm a huge fan of David Cronenberg as a director. Always really enjoyed David Cronenberg. I love The Brood and Scanners and Videodrome, The Fly, this film, Naked Lunch, that's another really good one as well. History of Violence, that's another good one too. But if I had to do my top 5 favorite Cronenberg films, The Fly is my favorite, then Videodrome, then this movie, then Scanners, and then I would say The Brood. They're my top 5 favorite David Cronenberg films. I just think this, and like I said, this is coming off of Videodrome, David Cronenberg, because David Cronenberg, this was 83, and he had this and Videodrome both the same year. So that's a pretty good year for David Cronenberg. And even for Stephen King year, that was a pretty good year for Stephen King movies, because at this time around the same year, you had Cujo and Christine in 83. So pretty good Stephen King year, too. Not just for David Cronenberg, but Stephen King. But the basic idea with The Dead Zone is that you have Christopher Walken, and probably my favorite performance of his. I really love Christopher Walken in this movie. He plays Johnny Smith, who's a teacher, who, has a wife, and his career's going great, things like that. He's a teacher. And one day things changes. One thing changes everything. He gets into a car accident and goes into a coma for 5 years. And he wakes up from a coma, and he finds out that he has these powers where he can see into the future. And there's kind of 3 parts to this film. The first part of the film deals more with the, build-up of him using his powers to see in the future. You have a second part where you have Christopher Walken's wife is Brooke Adams from The Invasion of the Body Snatchers from the 70s with Donald Sutherland. She's the wife in this. But the second part of the film, you have Tom Skerritt from Alien as a sheriff who is trying to hunt down the serial killer, a thing called the Castle Rock Killer, who's killing people, who tries to enlist the help of Christopher Walken. And then you have a third part of the film where it deals with Martin Sheen's character, who's as this guy trying to run for president, and things like that. And Christopher Walken, when he shakes his hand or when he touches, or when he feels, because he has like the power, like when he shakes people's hands, he can see into the future, and he can see that maybe this is a guy that might lead to World War III. And that's pretty much what the entire film is about. Now, The Dead Zone, I think it's really kind of hard to consider this a horror movie, even though it is labeled as horror, because it's more of like a sci-fi sort of drama film, but it's got some horror elements in it. And first off, this cast does a great job. I mean, Christopher Walken as Johnny Smith, really great lead character. I'm always been a huge fan of Christopher Walken. Really liked him in Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis. Of course, he's really fun in Wedding Crashers and things like that. He's always a really great character actor. Really big fan of Christopher Walken. Definitely my favorite performance of his. And of course, he was in Sleepy Hollow as the Headless Horseman as well, so you can't forget that. The other cast members, Brooke Adams does a good job. Tom Skerritt, cool to see him from Alien as a sheriff. He's really good. Anthony Zerbe, that's a guy that's been in quite a few films. I remember him mostly from See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. You also have Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen does a great job as the guy who's trying to run for president. And he has some really good sequences in this, like especially the part, one of the more gorier, I guess, like graphic parts of the film. It's definitely one of the most memorable scenes in the movie. It's when Christopher Walken finds the killer when you find out who the serial killer is, and Christopher Walken finds that the serial killer committed suicide. And the way that he committed suicide is that, like, with these scissors, like, he kind of, like, put his hands behind his head, sort of like this, and he, like, went down, and the scissors went, like, through the roof of his mouth and up, like that. So it kind of makes you cringe a little bit. It's kind of an unusual way to do a suicide. I mean, with the scissors coming up through the roof of your mouth. It's, never seen that before. And like I said, Christopher Walken really does a great job in his performance. Like, especially this one part when he's talking with his doctor, and the doctor's like, use your gift of your psychic powers. God blessed you with this thing. And Christopher Walken's like, God blessed me. The love of my life has moved on. I lost my job. I don't have my job anymore. Things like that. I've been in a coma for 5 years. Yeah, God's blessed me all right. God's blessed me all right. He did it way better than I could have, but Christopher Walken, great performance. And you have another really good scene in here where Christopher Walken, with the Anthony Zerbe character, when he finds out that he has a vision that Anthony Zerbe's son is going to fall through the ice, that is going to break and fall under, and the son's going to die. See a vision of that. And overall, this is just a solid Stephen King movie. It's got some creepy elements to it. I think it's got a really cool idea about this guy waking up from a coma having psychic powers. I think that's just a cool idea, and it's headed by a great cast: Christopher Walken, Tom Skerritt, Martin Sheen. I think David Cronenberg did an excellent job directing this. Like I said before, very different for David Cronenberg, considering his other films like The Fly and Videodrome. While this one's kind of more subtle, much more of a drama, sci-fi, kind of like horror flick, more subtle, nothing really to do with body horror, kind of like Videodrome or The Fly. But it's definitely one of Cronenberg's best films, in my opinion. And if you're a big David Cronenberg fan, I would highly recommend you check this out. If you enjoy films like The Fly and Videodrome and Scanners, and you haven't seen this one for David Cronenberg, I would definitely recommend you check this one out. It's a very solid Stephen King movie. But that's pretty much it for my review for The Dead Zone. Thank you very much for watching. And also too, before I let you guys go, another fun piece of trivia about this film is that Christopher Walken was not the original choice for the lead. It was going to be Bill Murray in the lead, which would have been interesting to see. But Bill Murray around this time had done Caddyshack and Stripes and all that stuff. But it would have been interesting to see Bill Murray go in the drama territory because he did that later in his career. But I think Christopher Walken definitely deserved the part, and I think he did a great job in it. So I'm really glad Christopher Walken got to do it. So that's pretty much it for my review for The Dead Zone. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.